military strike against Syria. Joining us now is the chairman of the House Armed Services Committee, California Republican Buck McKeon. Thank you very much for joining us, Congressman. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Chris. Thanks for having me.
The president is taking some criticism for going to Congress, but let me ask you, do you believe this is the right move?
I definitely do. I think that I've been calling for that. Many members of Congress have been calling for that. I also think he needs to go to the American people. He needs to explain to them, look them in the eye, and tell them how he went through the decision process, how he came to this point in his decision making. I think it's very important. He's the one that's elected by the whole country. He's the one that has all the information. He needs to tell the American public and get their support before he moves forward.
I was just talking to somebody on the show, and they said, well, Libya is a good example of how the U.S. military went in with surgical strikes. Now, do you believe Libya is a good analogy for what you'd like to see with U.S. involvement in Syria?
You know, over the last couple of years, the president has surged the troops in Afghanistan while he cut the military budget. He flew missions over Libya while he cut the military's budget. He changed the strategy to focus on the Pacific while he cut the military budget. Our military has had over $1 trillion cut out of their budget in the last couple of years and going forward. The chairman of the Joint Chiefs and the chiefs that serve with him have not had any kind of certainty in how they plan and what they can look forward to from year to year over the last couple of years. This sequestration, the president needs to fix. This would be a great time to fix that, to show the military that while we're asking them to continue on with mission after mission after mission, instead of cutting back, like he told them the day before he announced this decision, that they weren't going to receive the pay next year that they had been planning on. Instead of doing that kind of thing to our military, we ought to look out for them, just as we're looking out for those people in Syria.
Strong point. Everybody supports the troops, I would hope. But let me ask you, Congressman, is that your way of saying that you're worried about how long and how committed the U.S. military will have to be if anything begins in Syria?
You know, we're still at war in Afghanistan. We've been fighting now for 12 years. These troops have done everything that's been asked of them. What we ought to do is look after them a little bit, too. And I think it's important that we fix and give them certainty, give our military leaders the ability to plan so that when they get called to perform missions like this, they'll be there and be prepared and have the wherewithal and the resources to do it, instead of just time and time again cutting the military back when they've had more cuts than any other department in government, and yet they account for only about 17% of the spending of government. It's time to really look after and take care of our military.
Where are you right now in terms of your thinking about whether or not you would vote for a military attack on Syria?
I'm still open. I think that when the president said you shouldn't cross the red line, he should have put a little more thought into it before he said it. That's why we're in this position now. It's because of his statement, and frankly, I think that this scurrying around trying to reach Congress now is a little bit late. It would have been good to have done this before he ever made the comment of cross the red line, but he's done it. We are where we are. I think that the prestige of the United States is on the line. It's something we're going to have to look at very carefully, but I think that we cannot keep asking the military to perform mission after mission with the sequestration and military cuts hanging over their heads. We have to take care of our own people first.
Taking your point, do you have concerns as to whether or not the U.S. military is capable of doing this type of attack in Syria?
No, I have no concerns of their capability. They're the strongest, best equipped, best trained military. What I'm looking at is what they've been hit with the last couple of years. Where will they be the next time they're asked? The world has not gotten any safer. I mean, we look at Korea, and they have large quantities of chemical weapons. We look at the whole Middle East; it seems to be exploding overnight. We look at China, and they're increasing their military budget. The world has not gotten safer, and yet we're cutting back $1 trillion out of our military, asking them to do more with less. That has to come to a stop.
All right, Chairman McKeon, thank you very much for your perspective this morning. Appreciate it on New Day.
Thank you, Chris.
So you see this discussion gets brought